Welcome to the Public Works and Gang Reduction Committee. I'm Committee Chair Joe Buscaino. I'm joined by the great council member Carrie Price of the New Ninth. Love that pen. And we'd like to welcome each and every one of you to our committee meeting. I'm going to first take general public comment and bring up Sid Maksudian for public comment. For those of you who are here to speak on a non-agenda item, please be sure to fill out a speaker card. And I only have one, and that's Sid. If you can please come on up. Welcome. Yes, right there, sir.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Sid Maksudian, and I'm an advocate for the downtown merchants on St. Vincent Court. There's approximately 12 restaurants who their livelihood is basically undecided as of today, and it's been like this for the past 3.5 months. As you all know, I've been coming to the council meetings for the past 3 months to bring attention to this court. There's a motion today which you gentlemen are going to be looking into, where you're going to mark the boundaries for the historic core.
Okay, general public comment. We'll talk about item 5 coming up.
I urge that the council, for the board committee members, is to look into this matter, because this has to be included, St. Vincent Court.
Again, this is item 5.
Oh, okay. Well, what can I discuss?
Just anything on the anything that's not on the agenda, Sid.
Not on the agenda.
Right.
Well, I don't have a comment. Well, I could make a comment that no, I can't.
Okay, hold it. Yeah, use all your 2 minutes for item 5. Thank you, Sid. Okay, with that, we're going to approve items 4, 6, 7, 9, 10. Again, that's items 4, 6, 7, 9, and 10 on consent.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Mr. Price without objection. Again, those items will approve. Again, items 4, 6, 7, 9, and 10. Okay. We have Michael, so we can read for the record item number 1, please.
Item number 1 is a report from the Bureau of Engineering relative to the vacation of the alley easterly of Brooks Avenue from Abbott Kinney Boulevard to its northerly terminus.
Fantastic. I have one card on this. Mr. John Bauman, to please come up. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon. John Bowman. I represent the property owner and applicant. We support the Bureau of Engineering committee report, urge its adoption, and I, along with Mike Crehan of SOMAS, are simply here today to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, sir. A motion to approve item 1? Okay, moved by Mr. Price. Item number 1 is approved. Okay, next item. Let's take item number 2, Michael.
Item number 2 is a report from the Board of Public Works relative to the mitigated negative declaration for the Riverside Drive Bridge near Zoo Drive widening and rehabilitation project.
Okay, this item was held for a speaker card, and I'd like to bring up John Jacobberger to come speak on this item. John, welcome.
It's Jeff, actually.
Oh,
that's okay.
Sorry, Jeff. My bad.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm the chair of the City of Los Angeles Bicycle Advisory Committee, and just like to offer some general comments about this project. I guess from my perspective as a bike advocate, I give this proposal in the MND a grade of about a 98%. I mean, it's very clear that LA DOT and Caltrans and the rest of the city's family gave a great deal of thought and made a real effort to meet the needs of bicyclists on this project, including the bike tunnel under the bridge and providing access to the LA River bike path from both sides of Riverside Drive. The MND even includes bike counts, which in my experience is pretty rare. And it appears that LA DOT and Caltrans contemplate using the 5-foot shoulders on the bridge to add bike lanes across the bridge. And in fact, figure 12 on page 63 of the MND actually appears to show marked bike lanes in the after project implementation image. My complaint, though, is that nowhere in the document does the city actually make a commitment to provide bike lanes across the bridge. They make a commitment to provide sidewalks and pedestrian infrastructure, make a commitment to provide travel lanes, but at best sort of a vague promise that we have these 5-foot shoulders that could be used to provide bike lanes. And my frustration is that in project after project, Again, there's a failure by the city to make a real commitment, firm commitment to bike infrastructure. I just add one thing about the importance of this bridge for bicyclists. As I mentioned last week, there are more than 40 motor vehicle lanes through the Hollywood Hills, between the San Fernando Valley and the LA Basin, nothing for bikes. The LA River Bike Path is the only, for bicyclists who are uncomfortable riding on streets, the LA River Bike Path is the only way to get from the valley to the basin, and every one of those riders from the valley has to cross this bridge. There should be a commitment to bike lanes on the bridge. Thank you.
City staff present. For the record, I'm joined by Councilmember Gil Cedillo. Thank you, Councilman, for being here.
For the record, Jim Treadaway from the Bureau of Engineering.
Thank you.
Rich Calvin from GPA Consulting.
Thank you. So we have before us this item number 2, city engineer report. The recommendation is to approve this. Why should we approve this?
This is really a positive project. It's north of the Griffith Observatory in Griffith Park. It's a 19-foot widening on the downstream side of the river. This originally was a dual-side widening. The neighborhood rose up, and in the middle of the project, or in the middle of the design, the Historical Cultural Affairs Committee named this a historical monument. So we went back and reconfigured it to a single-side widening, and they approved this project in October 2012. This project's been around for about 12 years. We're at the culmination of trying to get this EIR approved. It is bicycle-friendly and it is pedestrian-friendly. We do have a 2-foot wide median. We have an 8-foot wide sidewalks. We have an increased shoulders. We have seismic upgrades for the entire strengthening the bridge. It's no hit to the general fund. It's all federal money. And
I do see in the Riverside Drive Bridge Widening and Rehabilitation Project, this is put out by Caltrans colleagues. It's the last page. Viewpoint 1, after project implementation, I clearly see a dedicated bike lane.
underneath the bridge, that is correct. Are we looking at this picture here?
Yes, sir. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's actually on the bridge itself, on the surface.
We
of the
do
bridge.
call that a shoulder. We don't label it a bike lane. The federal documents really don't allow for a bike lane when there's no bike lane on either side of this. So where would you have a bike lane if you added a bike lane on this thing? There's no bike lane on the street. The shoulder could be used as a bike lane, but is not designated as a bike
Underneath the bridge, though, it is a dedicated.
It absolutely is.
Can we, and maybe this is a DOT question, can we designate that as a bike route?
It would be a bike route that went nowhere, because there,
Oh, okay, got it. It's not
Glenn-
interconnected.
no, there's no.
Okay. Colleagues, questions?
Looks like a great improvement.
Yes, without a doubt.
After 12 years, I guess it's time for some improvement.
We're very happy.
Yes.
Now, just curious, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
You said this is a federally funded project. Was this in advance because there was no source of funds, or the federal money came available and it just took us this long to draw it down, or?
No, each bridge in the city of Los Angeles has a rating, a sufficiency rating 0 to 100, and if the rating's below 80, we're allowed to apply for federal funds. It's done on an 88% federal and a 12% local match. So the city comes up with the local match. The federally funded, because it's a seismic hazard or seismic risk, is funded through the federal bridge program, which is administered through Caltrans. It's federal money administered through Caltrans. So we apply for it. Have a grant that we don't have to pay back, and we come up with the 12% either locally or we get the 12% from Metro.
Thank you.
Questions? Okay, we have a motion to approve item 2.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Price. I have a second.
Thank you.
Second by Mr. Cedillo. Thank you. Item number 2 is approved. Item number 3,
Item number 3 is the city attorney report and ordinance relative to amending section 42 subsection C of the Los Angeles Municipal Code to remove the exception for sightseeing tour operations from the prohibition of soliciting employment of services on the street.
Mr. Ted Jordan, thank you for being here. Is this with the what's going on Hollywood Boulevard?
Yes, it is. And again, well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for having this item come up through committee so quickly. We did ask that it be expedited.
Sure.
This is in response to a motion brought by Council District 13 to address some problems going on in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
There is an exception in our general prohibition on the selling of goods or services on the sidewalk for tour bus companies. So this ordinance, in response to the motion, removes that exception.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Jordan, colleagues? Before I send it over to public comment?
Does this policy occur in any other part of the city? Or
No.
Is this a pilot effort? I'm sorry, I didn't.
The exception in the municipal code, it's municipal code section 42.00C. That exception applies citywide. So by removing the exception, it will not exist. It won't be allowed anywhere in the city. The particular problem addressed in the motion at Council File 121156 was specifically talking about Hollywood.
Thank you.
This just came from then Council Member Garcetti, seconded by LaBonge. Mr. Jordan, why were tour buses operators originally exempted from this provision in the Muni Code that prohibits other types of businesses from soliciting on the street?
Well, we did research that issue, and we found that this particular provision went back very far into our code, farther than we were able to see it when it was actually added. And we also looked into the matter and found that other cities did not have an exception, and so we're removing that exception from our code, and we'll be consistent with other cities that we're aware of.
Okay. Thank you. I have a few comment cards, public speaker cards here. If I can bring up Nicole Shashinian, and followed by Philip Ferentinos and Carrie Morrison. How are you?
Good afternoon, council members. Nicole Shahanian with the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the Hollywood Chamber and its over 800 members, I'm here to encourage your strong support of this proposed ordinance, which will eliminate an outdated section of the city code that currently allows for sidewalk solicitations by sightseeing tour bus companies. As the world's most famous street, Hollywood Boulevard has become a major center for tour bus company activities. With ever-increasing competition over the past few years, tour bus companies have become particularly aggressive in soliciting customers on the boulevard and sidewalks throughout Hollywood. While street solicitation of goods and services is banned throughout LA, an exception remains in the city code for tour bus operators. It is our understanding that the outdated code stems from a state PUC regulation that has long since been repealed. LA remains the only California jurisdiction to provide an exemption to tour operators for sidewalk solicitations that we are aware of. The Chamber and the Hollywood Property Owners Alliance have been working to bring together a group of reputable tour operators to discuss ways to ensure a more tourist-friendly experience on Hollywood Boulevard. We are all aware of the importance of the tourism industry in Hollywood and want to be sure that each and every individual leaves our city having had a pleasant and entertaining experience. It has become very apparent that aggressive solicitation on Hollywood Boulevard leaves a very bad impression on tourists that we are trying to attract. Several of us are here today to support adoption of the amended ordinance as a relatively easy fix that will go a long way to help restore order to a situation which is quickly becoming out of hand. The Chamber believes that this ordinance is the best way to protect the public and ensure equity to all businesses operating in Hollywood. We urge your support for this very simple measure.
Thank you, Nicole. Send Laurent Gubler our best. Next speaker, Philip Ferentinos.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Philip Ferentinos
Welcome.
with Starline Tours. As you may know, we're the largest and oldest tour operator here in Los Angeles, and my owners have actually been operating the business since the 1960s when they were operating under the PUC, and they do believe that that is why this still remains there today. We do feel that it should be removed. We try to operate as a reputable company. We only sell our tours on private land, not on the public land. If you try going down Hollywood Boulevard these days, I'd say we did surveys, and you're costed about 30 times as you walk down the boulevard. and often not very nice and often very threateningly. And that's really not what the experience should be when coming to Hollywood. And so this would stop that. Why should tours be the only exception of everybody else? You can't sell a flower, you can't sell a book, you can't sell anything else, but you can sell a tour. It just seems bizarre. It really is just an anachronism that's left over, and as you know, the other cities have removed it. Santa Monica's removed it, Beverly Hills has removed it, so no one else has it. And so it's just one of those things that slipped by and has allowed this situation to deteriorate beyond belief. And so we're here to strongly support it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Carrie Morrison, our final speaker on this item.
Good afternoon. My name is Carrie Morrison, and I manage the Business Improvement District on Hollywood Boulevard. When Mitch O'Farrell was Senior Deputy for Eric Garcetti, we created a special task force to look at how to calm the mean streets of Hollywood with respect to the whole visitor experience. And if any of you have been there recently, you know that if you're walking down the boulevard between the tour bus hawkers, the CD vendors, the characters, and any other number of experiences, it is not a very civil experience. It doesn't really speak well of our city. So we created a special tour bus working group, and we have a number of ideas that we are going to work with our new council member over the next year or so. But the very easiest and first one was to remove this exemption from the municipal code. It serves no purpose, and we have law-abiding, tax-paying, reputable tour bus companies who actually rent storefronts. I'll give you an example. At the southwest corner of Hollywood and Highland, LA City Tours pays $8,000 a month to rent a storefront from which they will vend their tours and people can wait and have a cup of coffee, etc. Certainly Starline Tours falls in that category and others. But we have fly-by-night companies who come in, they plop up an umbrella, a kiosk. We have no idea who they are. They take cash. We get multiple complaints from people who have really horrible experiences. We don't even know what they're saying about the city of LA. So this is the very first thing we can quickly do, is to eliminate sales and solicitation on the public right-of-way. And over time, we have some other ideas to try to professionalize this entire visitor experience. So we hope that you will support removal of that exemption.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Great. Got a motion to approve item number 3. Moved by Mr. Cedillo. I have a second. Second. Mr. Price, thank you. So ordered. Item number 3 approved. Item number 5.
Item number 5 was continued from August 7th, and it's a motion from Council Members Huizar and Buscaino relative to a pilot program allowing a temporary permit process to expedite the legal placement of sidewalk dining and storefront furniture within the historic core area of downtown Los Angeles. This one also received a Board of Public Works report dated August 19th, and that report is also referred to the Personnel and Animal Welfare Committee because it has a position authorization.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I don't want to speak out of school here, but
Please.
I think we want to move that. Is that correct?
You mean on consent?
No, not on consent. We want to move it to the next meeting.
Oh, you want to continue it?
Continue it.
Eric, if you can just come forward representing
Yes.
Council Member Huizar.
Just come up here and help the new members.
That's fine.
Get the right vernacular.
Hi, Eric Martello from Councilmember Jose Wheeler's office. We actually want to hear the preliminary report that BOE actually drafted for today's committee meeting, and we also have some recommendation, also public input from the community in the historic core district that want to incorporate some more recommendations as well.
Okay. So let's bring up staff,
That's before we continue the matter?
and then we'll continue it. Yeah. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Mike Cantor, Deputy City Engineer with the Bureau of Engineering, and I would be available to provide you either an overview or provide
Overview for
questions
first?
if you.
Provide an overview first. Thank you.
The Bureau of Engineering was asked to take a look at a couple of aspects of our process for sidewalk dining, which we use what our revocable permit is the permit that we use for sidewalk dining. And we were asked to look at, one, how can you do it faster? And we're also asked to look at how can you do it for a lower cost. And so what we did is we came back with, and we're recommending two pieces to address that. One is to improve to reduce the time that it takes to process. We're requesting a position to address citywide sidewalk dining applications. We always have a queue of applications. And the
How many are assigned to do that now? How many are on staff or dedicated to that purpose now?
Well, right now we have portions of people. We have people that do multiple things. And so in Central District Office, we have a couple of staff that work on these. We have people in Valley, West LA, our district offices have people that process these. But I wouldn't say there's a person that's dedicated to this 100%. And so what we do is we process applications in our queue in a first-come, first-served basis. So we did not want, as a part of this program, to take applications out of the queue, meaning we didn't want to see the applicants for historic core sidewalk dining pulled ahead of the queue. We thought that we needed to continue processing our queue for all of our revocable permits fairly in the order received. And so the way for us to expedite that is to provide more resources. The second part related to costs. And so what we did is we are proposing to fairly radically change the process for sidewalk dining. The process today is adopted by the board. We presented a process to the board back in 2005, which they adopted. That process also came all the way to City Council, where if you go into the council file index, that process is posted there. And so we feel what we should do is we should prepare a new process to implement this. So we want to bring a new process to the Board of Public Works, and we're proposing to eliminate some steps. And one of those is the field investigation. Right now, an applicant will let us know, this is what we're proposing, two tables, 10 chairs, and we will, in the current process, we'll go in the field and we'll field investigate that. And in addition, we have a notification process. We'll send letters out to the adjacent property owners and provide that opportunity for feedback regarding this applicant. And so we are proposing to eliminate steps from the current process. Ultimately,
I'm sorry, which steps are you going to eliminate?
Field investigation, notification process. And so in line with all of the services that the Bureau of Engineering provides, we're tasked by the City Council to be 100% cost recovery. So the way for us to reduce costs is to reduce the time that we spend on processing an application. And so that's what we've brought forward, is a process that takes steps out of the current revocable permit process. And I know that we're going to have to sort of work through this.
Right. So you think you'll reduce days or weeks the processing time with this new procedure?
Well, once again, revocable permits are interesting in that processing time depends on the applicant's responsiveness. There's steps that our staff are doing, and then there's times when we are waiting for responses back from applicants. So it's hard to say, how we can reduce the applicant's side. But from the Bureau of Engineering side, we're going to clearly reduce hours of time in terms of field investigation, writing letters, dealing with responses back from adjacent owners.
So ultimately, you're putting efficiencies in place on behalf of the business owner to be more receptive to sidewalk dining.
Right. Well, what we're doing is we're going to be, once again, we're going to be relying on the information that the applicant provides in terms of, what they are planning to use out there on the sidewalk. We would do more of a paper study where we would look at, Navigate LA and look at some Google aerials rather than actually validate what they're proposing. So we're more of an honor type system, and we'll look at what they provide. And then we will also...
I just don't want to process, colleagues, to discourage property owners from putting out sidewalk dining.
Right. And I think that this, the only aspect of this that we'll have to live through, and that's why we're proposing a pilot project, is if you have an adjacent owner that is opposed to what the applicant wants to do, we still need to deal with that. And that would, that's something that would trigger what we're proposing as a more costly process. So if you are the applicant and you want to do the basic process for sidewalk dining,
Right.
we're going to try and do it over the counter with this new procedure we will develop and
Good.
present to the board. And let's say your neighbor then, once you are now operating, comes in and opposes it. The only mechanism we have is to make that application now the process that goes to the Board of Public Works. So the simple, this expedited, lower-cost process will then kick into the normal, more expensive process to resolve that dispute.
Got it.
That's what we're proposing.
Got it. Mr. Cedillo?
Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Sarah, do you want to speak on this? Okay. Well, I understand, out of respect, Council Member Weezar's office, they prefer to continue this item, but I do have public comment cards on this, and for those members of the public who want to be here, or who are here to speak on this item, you're more than welcome to speak on this item. Just know that we're going to continue it. So for those who fill out a card, show of hands, let me know if you, okay. So we'll just take it. Okay, thank you very much. Let's bring up Patty Berman, please, followed by Blair Beston, and followed by Sid Muscusian. Patty? Hi. Welcome.
My name is Patty Berman. I'm the president of the Downtown Los Angeles Neighborhood Council, but I am speaking today as a private citizen because we have not completed action on this particular issue. First of all, I would like to say that we are very much in favor of, at least the people that I speak to are very much in favor of this. It was quite a shock to our neighborhood when all of the dining was taken down one night. There are restaurants in the area that have almost no seating except for the outdoor seating, and there were other incidents where it was just a little business that had a couple of chairs in front of their door, and they were told that they were going to have to wait for 9 months and spend a very large amount of money just to get those 2 chairs back out again. The historic core has an atmosphere that actually, this works for us very, very well. The outdoor dining actually puts eyes on the streets, it puts light on the street in an area that used to be incredibly blighted. And now we have all of this activity right on the street. It's very important for us. I would just like to encourage, when you finally do get back to this particular item, that you take a look at letting us have our sidewalk dining without really hurting these businesses. These are little tiny businesses. They can't afford 9 months. They can't afford a lot of money. And they're very, very critical to our area. We are built on small business. I have been in the historic core for 13 years, and I have seen a great deal of change because of these small businesses coming in and taking a chance. And we don't want to hurt them. We want to help them. I would also like to say on the other side of this coin that many of the people I speak to, including members of my own board, are very much opposed to including the alley at St. Vincent's Court in any of this because it is not providing sidewalk seating. There is no sidewalk there. That is a place that trucks are supposed to be able to go back and forth to provide loading for the Delajani theaters. And in order for us to bring back Broadway, we're going to need to have those theaters. So consider all of that, please.
Thank you, Patty. Next speaker, Blair Beston. Blair, welcome. Followed by Sid Muscusian. Good afternoon.
I'm with the Historic Downtown Business Improvement District, and I'm representing the board today. We did write a letter on this issue. For the record, I don't want this to cloud the issue. This has nothing to do with the alley, so I just want that to go on record.
Can you distinguish that? Where is the alley?
The St. Vincent's Alley is between Hill and Broadway on 7th Street, and it's a completely separate issue. We're talking about the district of the historic core and sidewalk dining outside of restaurants and businesses in the core. As a background, just so you know, right before Art Walk, which is the occurrence that happens...
Why wouldn't you include the other aspect,
though? It's too detailed, and it's already in process. I think it's a separate topic, and I think they're working on a separate issue resolved between 2 property owners. It's also an alley that trucks can pass through. to go to the theaters there.
Right. In my discussion with Councilmember Weezer, that they're in discussion right now between all parties involved.
I believe so, yes. So I just want to give you background on this issue. There was a selective enforcement that took place in my district the day before Art Walk in May. This was where restaurants who had been in existence for many years and establishments were asked to produce permits on the spot. They were unable to do so, understandably. Many years passed by. You don't have those things on file. This forced the district into a state of shock, needless to say. They were then required to begin as much as a 9-month process, from what we understand that it takes. It's a $2,000 permit fee and then another $6,000 for a retainer. I received a lot of calls about this from businesses and property
I'm sorry,
owners.
$6,000 for a retainer
For a
fee?
retainer for further ongoing,
You mean if
design.
you hired a lawyer to do that, or it's a
I
requirement?
think it's just a requirement as far as with the city. They hold the funds for further review, perhaps a field investigation, as the gentleman from BOE demonstrated. I could discuss how it's a burdensome process on small businesses, or how the sidewalk dining does benefit the neighborhood, but I think there are other people will cover that. I'm more interested in a directive that we get really specific about what the motion dictates, just detailed language about the fact that the process should be a matter of weeks, not months. If it needs to go longer for any reason, could we have a guideline that allows for a reasonable temporary placement of some sort of furniture, that the process become more affordable. For example, a one-time cap fee of, say, $1,500 for dining, and maybe $250 for planters and chairs and so forth. Keeping in mind this has nothing to do with alcohol sales. This is strictly just the operation of the dining on the sidewalk. And then a transferable option to the new ownership, provided that there's a small transfer fee and they demonstrate that proof of insurance is logged with the city.
Very good. Thank you. I gave you extra time because we were going back and forth. So thank you so much. Next speaker is Sid Makstustian, followed by Brittany Garza and Russell Brown.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. The name is Sid Maksudian, M-A-K. When I came this afternoon, I was going to be very neutral in my comments, but as I see that the First Lady that spoke already made some comments about Deli Johnny's. So I guess someone wants to interject into this situation. As you know, Mr. Buscaino, that I've been very fair and neutral in this matter just to help those 11, 12 merchants in that alley. It is essential to remind the people here today that, first of all, the St. Vincent Court, one of the most historic and earliest court in the downtown area, where no one had sidewalk dinings 27 years ago. St. Vincent Court basically pioneered the sidewalk dining with the blessing of the American Armenians, the Turkish Armenians, the Persian Americans who created that atmosphere. And because of now that we feel kind of a political tug-of-war, Deligiani family, not the father, Isa Deligiani was a humble and great gentleman and entrepreneur. But Shahram Deligiani, I think, going out of his way to play the bullying tactic because he owns the theater. I understand the merchants over there had some issues with him. But I, being a neutral advocate, no one is paying me. I don't get paid a dime for this past 4 months just to do the good work to save those 12 merchants there with all colorful backgrounds, whether they be Hispanic Americans, Armenians, or Turkish, or Persians. We like to see is that this project is great, but to exclude one of the most historic alleys out of this pilot program, it's unjustifiable. That means somebody doesn't want this particular alley to be part of it. One way or another, I'll give you my word, this alley will become prosperous again, whether with the blessing of Deligiani, which I want and I welcome, because I extended the olive branch on behalf of the Pilavgians, the merchants. But he is the only one so far hasn't come. But I was assured this morning that Mr. Huizar, our good council member, is making great efforts to bring him to the table. With that note,
thank you.
We would love to see that to be included in the historic pilot program.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sid. Brittany Garza. Mike, I see you.
Hello. Hello, my name is Brittany Garza. I'm here with the public safety team of the Historic Business Improvement District. I'd like to support the expedited processing of the sidewalk dining permits from a public safety standpoint. If you look at our district, we cover Main Street, Spring Street, and Broadway, and most of the dining is on Spring Street with a little bit on Main Street and a little bit on Broadway. And the portions of our district where you don't see sidewalk dining is the areas that you're going to see the most vandalism. You're going to see the burglaries from motor vehicle because there are no eyes and ears on the street. Unfortunately, the police department, my officers, we can't be everywhere all at the same time. And so with the people on the street dining, they see something, they say something. And that's just an added benefit of the sidewalk dining. It goes to the broken window theory of you take the people away, it's kind of an abandoned area now, and it just continues to deter from there.
Great. Captain Garza?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. We got to get you over to the LAPD side.
One day.
All right. Thank you so much. Not yet. Don't take her away. I like it. Mr. Brown?
Right.
Well, welcome.
Is this on? Russell Brown. I'm an 11-year resident of downtown, have lived at 4th and Main and now at 5th and Spring for the entire time. I've also been very involved with neighborhood council, historic downtown bid, bringing back Broadway, streetcar, and part of the formation committee working with the art walk as we encouraged people to come down to basically an abandoned neighborhood, and to the point that now we have 20,000 people come for the art walk. Outdoor dining is critical in that transition. When Pete's Cafe opened at 4th and Main, it was the only outdoor dining event in all of historic core, and it went till 2 o'clock in the morning, and it single-handedly almost changed the neighborhood. If you look at Pete's Cafe, you can see how that became the community center of the whole neighborhood and encouraged people to feel comfortable coming out late at night and walking the neighborhood, but more importantly, gathering with their neighbors, with their friends, with their dogs. When Blossom Cafe opened on the other side of Winston, people thought they were insane that a place where it had just been prostitution and crack sales would move across the street. Now you see how that spread throughout all of the historic core. Both the art walk and outdoor dining in the businesses is really about the balance between safety and access for the pedestrians, and we think this is a good way to do it. They've talked about some of the prohibitive cost of setting these up. Through the planning committee, we get 6 to 10 applications every month that we review outdoor dining, and outdoor dining is a critical part of showing the presence and the visibility. We had a business that showed up last night that has almost 100 seats, but they were going to have 2 tables outside because the building doesn't really show a presence that the restaurant's open, and the outdoor dining with a couple of tables and chairs and the awnings and the umbrellas says, we're here, we're open. I would also agree that St. Vincent's Alley is a very different set of circumstance because they don't have sidewalks. I'm glad that the property owners there and Jose's office is working towards a mediated settlement there. I think that's very important, but it is sort of separate from this.
How long have you lived in downtown, Mr. Russell, Mr. Brown?
11 years.
11 years. I did my probation down here, and what a complete turnaround. That was in 1997, 98. You've seen the turnaround downtown Los Angeles. Incredible.
I remember when I first moved downtown, obviously with my southern accent, I'm not from California. And I remember thinking there's not very many bugs down here. You could look down Main Street and see so many what I thought were lightning bugs up and down the street, and it was that many people smoking crack.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Huntington Hotel, which was ground central for gangland warfare, is student housing, affordable housing, yoga studio, art galleries. It's just amazing how different it is.
I often share the story of my days with LAPD down here and how the turnaround with solid, good economic development and issues like this, allowing businesses to apply and move forward on sidewalk dining. It's incredible.
I think what we've also been surprised with is a lot of people don't realize what a solid community Skid Row is. There's so many dedicated people who live there that are working to bring businesses and work to their own neighborhood, too.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thanks.
And representing Councilmember Weezar's office, Sarah Hernandez to close on this item.
Good afternoon, Sarah Hernandez. I'm the Downtown Area Director for Councilman Weezar, and I think that Patty, Russ, and Blair said enough. Obviously, downtown's going through some massive revitalization, and this is really great. The council member strongly encourages sidewalk dining, but in interfacing with these constituents, we started to realize that if we are going to really strongly encourage this type of activity, we need to be really, really thoughtful about how we're enabling our business owners to really actually fully engage in a legal way. So talking to our constituents, we found that there are numerous barriers to obtaining a permit. One, the amount of time that it takes to obtain that permit. Two, the prohibitive cost for mom and pop businesses to simply put out a few tables and chairs. Three, the subjectiveness of the process where business owners aren't fully aware and given notice to what they can and cannot put in, which causes this back and forth, which causes a 6-month to 9-month delay. And then three, we really wanted an emphasis. Did I say three? 4. An emphasis on permit approval rather than permit enforcement. Right now, there's so much front loading into obtaining a permit that it takes so long. When really the issue is, are you abiding by the permit that's given to you? So we wanted to shift that emphasis so that it's rather on looking at, are you following the rules, rather than it's going to take you 3 years to actually get a permit to begin with. So we feel that the report back that BOE has is a great start, and we thank BOE for collaborating with our office. It's a good start, and it's a good preliminary first draft, but it's not the end-all be-all. A few things that we are concerned about. One is the direct and indirect cost for the position that has been recommended to help streamline these permits, and so we're looking forward to interfacing with BOE a little bit more. And then we welcome collaboration from other council districts that want to implement programs of their own in their own district. I don't know, Eric, if you want to add some more to that.
Eric Marteau, Office of Councilmember Jose Weezar, and just to touch point on the St. Vincent's Court issue, it's completely different. Obviously, the motion was intended to do sidewalk dining on public streets, and at the St. Vincent's Court is an actual alley that is used for an entrance point for various businesses. So it's a different approach, and it's just not as easy included as part of the pilot program. So I just wanted to say that for the record.
Okay. I'll turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Cedillo, who in his days at Sacramento helped kick off the revitalization efforts in downtown Los Angeles. We're getting there in downtown San Pedro.
Thank you for that great trip down memory lane. Many people thought we were crazy. Tom Gilmore, Carol Schatz, myself, for the downtown rebound, for creating the bank, for the adaptive reuse. And we see it works. I want to figure out ways we can just expedite this. I mean, we should shift the presumption. We should move towards where we basically, maybe in the initial process, that we leave that as an option when people are looking to get a building, looking to get space on a street, that becomes an option that they can execute, and the presumption is then for us to figure out if somebody's not in compliance. This way, we're really opening up the streets. Obviously, in our CD1, we have an interest in several communities, the Figueroa Corridor, Broadway Corridor. We have a lot of activity in Chinatown now, so that we can grow the businesses out into those large courtyards, and we want to just figure out a way that we can expedite that, following your lead.
Yeah, if I could say, I mean, that's exactly what we want to do, and I don't know if it would be too bold to say that it would be great to have a by right process where, in the event that there is some adjacent property owner opposition, then that's when the process slows down a little bit. But in interfacing with BOE, I know that we asked, well, how much opposition do you get to adjacent property owners that are not for sidewalk dining in downtown? It's obviously very different across the city. They said 0. They have never gotten any sort of opposition to sidewalk dining from an adjacent property owner. Obviously, it's different on Melrose, it's different in Venice, but for this particular pilot program, and I'm sure in CD1 as well, this is where it's appropriate.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly one of the options we're also recommending. And also, something of concern is we don't understand why BOE is the department that oversees this. We were also thinking it might be just with planning or the building and safety. When new businesses are opening up and doing their plan checks, it should be part of the process by right. So these are the other options that we still want to discuss with the department as well.
Okay, I share those interests. I mean, I share them only because, like you guys, this is what we hear. from our constituents. Those corridors, the corridor, as I mentioned this weekend in Chinatown. Also, as we look to revitalize Alvarado, Westlake, MacArthur Park, this is what we hear. This is what people say will help us, and fortunately, this is an experience we know will work.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. Mr. Price.
No, I too just wanted to express my support for the concept, and I'm excited that it is moving forward. I think it does provide an opportunity for the community and, more importantly, entrepreneurs and businesses to kind of expand their opportunity, and at least it provides them with another tool in the toolbox. And so I support it totally, and I'm hopeful that that it will be expanded beyond the pilot area. But I know there are lots of parts of the city that will benefit from an expanded program like this. So
how much time do you need? 30 days?
30 days.
Okay. We'll hear this back in 30 days in committee, and we'll continue item number 5. Thank you. And thanks to the speakers who came to speak on this item. Let's move to item number 8, and we held this item. We have one comment card, John Popovich representing Councilmember Blumenfield's office. Can you read item 8 into the record, please?
Yes, item number 8 is a motion from council members Blumenfeld and Wesson relative to the encumbrance and remittance of funds for the use of citywide geographic information system software.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Councilmember Cedillo and Price. I'd just like to also thank Chairman Buscaino on another matter related to this item today. Last week, he honored the LACity.org team and for their work on improving our city's website. And you were kind enough to invite Councilmember Blumenfield to be a part of that since he's Chair of Innovation, Technology, and the General Services Committee. I know that's something you worked on long before Councilmember Blumenfield was here, so it's greatly appreciated that you wanted to work with him, and he sends along his thanks. Regarding this proposal, part of my task has been to reach out to the general managers of each of our city departments and find out how we can make their lives easier, save the city money, and make our government more accessible to the people through innovation and information technology. When I reached out to Gary Moore and his team, Randy, Michael, and Richard over at the Bureau of Engineering, they were right on top of this. This is a proposal that's ready to go, and I think you'll see that if you call them to the table or just look at their information in the motion. It's a great proposal. Councilmember Blumenfield is looking forward to making this geographic information system proposal a reality. Having 17 departments go under one department as the lead for their GIS makes common sense and fiscal sense. We're glad the Bureau of Engineering is willing to be the lead on it, and every one of the 17 departments is excited about it. By consolidating this, it will save us $200,000 per year for the next 6 years. It really comes down to one department, one system equals less money. We just need to keep doing this kind of creative approach so that we can continue to support our various departments in providing top-notch service to the people of Los Angeles. Part of Councilmember Blumenfield's plan to bring us into the 21st century is making our technology work for us. And as you know, he's introduced a motion to bring free Wi-Fi to the city, improve our 311 LA app, and this project follows suit. Let's get our departments sharing information, saving money, and helping us make government work more efficiently for the people. So, in closing, Councilmember Blumenfield and the entire team look forward to working with each of you closely to make this work for the committee and our city as a whole. Thank you, Chairman.
Thanks, Sean. I want to commend our colleague, Councilmember Blumenfield, for this motion. It's his outside-the-box thinking. Let's think big, let's think global. And I appreciate his leadership on this item. Colleagues, any questions?
No.
Motion to move? Moved by Mr. Price, seconded by Mr. Cedillo. So ordered. Thank you, John.
Very much.
Okay. In our last item, I'm going to defer to Councilmember Cedillo. He's the maker of the motion. And if we can just read item number 11 into the record, please.
Yes, item number 11 is a motion from Councilmembers Cedillo and Bonin relative to agreements with Caltrans and the Los Angeles Dodgers necessary for painting and the ongoing maintenance of the Chinatown pedestrian bridge over the Pasadena Freeway.
Members, I'd like your support on this. This is, as you know, a handful of iconic signs and locations in the city, the Watts Tower, the Hollywood sign, our local teams, Dodgers, Lakers, etc. This is an opportunity for the city to do, for the city, some types of boosterism that's permissive within the framework. Caltrans allows this, allows local jurisdictions, allows us to do this, to provide community identification on Caltrans structures with clear procedures. And so I'd ask for your support on this as we work this out.
Very good. Moved by Mr. Price, seconded, and that'll be the order and send that through council. Thank you, Mr. Cedillo, on that item. With that, we took general public comment, and seeing no other business before us, this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.